At the end of the day, for YouTube, you have to be authentic. That's the only way to be sustainable.
There is no guarantee. You can come from the biggest platform on the face of the planet and then try something else and it doesn't work. So this was never guaranteed. Hey, welcome to the only podcast that brings you more guests per episode than any other podcast in the history of podcasting. I'm Travis, and I'm here with an incredible group of creators I've known for quite a long time, and I'm super excited to have here. They are the team behind Speeed here on YouTube, and we're going to introduce each one individually. Usually I say, tell us about yourself, but there's like 3 other people here. So let's start with the person you probably know a little bit best. That would be James from Speeed. How you doing, James? Tell everyone about yourself.
I'm doing good. My name is James Pumphrey. I am a co-founder of the YouTube channel Speeed with 3 E's. And previously from Donut Media. And yeah, I'm the one in the videos.
There you go.
Or not the one anymore, I guess. These guys are in the videos quite a bit now too. So,
Awesome.
But yeah.
And the one who I've known probably the longest out of these entire group is Jesse. Jesse, tell everyone about yourself.
Hello, good morning, good morning. I'm not sure what my title is here at Speeed. I don't know if any of us know exactly what our titles are, but do a bit of everything. Also previously at Donut, I was the chief creative officer at Donut, and left and started Speeed with James. And yeah, just continuing to wear multiple hats.
Love that.
But we can dive into those.
Started Speed with
absolutely.
James and Zach and SR.
Yeah, damn, Jesse.
Yeah, dude.
Jeez.
And Zach now, Zach, kind
Like
of
30 seconds in.
Well, people don't know who Zach is yet, so now Zach.
Who
Yeah,
are
but
you?
they can-
How did you
yeah.
get in?
Yeah, I'm Zach. I guess one of the other co-founders of Speed. And yeah, I kind of, to Jesse's point, do a little bit of everything. Help write the videos, shoot the videos, sometimes edit the videos. Kind of try to stay out of the business and admin side and make that Jesse's job. I've been pretty avoidant of that. I'm like, hey, I just make the videos over here. But yeah, and been with these guys since the Donut days. Was over there for, I don't know, 6 years or so. Yeah, from early days. So been on that YouTube journey with them and now on a new one.
I'd say we're all creative director, and then we all have like a job after that as well.
Yeah.
So that's just one of the many hats.
Yeah, so we're all like creative directors, and then Zach actually directs most of the videos. Jesse handles a bunch of the like phone stuff, like being on the phone, and I handle a lot of like, I don't know, talking parts.
He brings the magic, baby.
The je ne sais quoi.
The talking part's kind of important for YouTube. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little about how you guys got here. So where most people would know your guys' work from, and James, your face from, is from Donut Media, which is where I met you guys, where I did some consulting for Donut. I still do. And there was a lot of really cool creative things you guys did there. For those who don't know, Donut is kind of this really cool, you can say it's a car channel, but it's not just a car channel. Like there's all types of really cool things going on there. James, of all the projects you worked on over there, what was kind of like one of your more favorite projects you worked on?
I mean, I'd say that the peak of Donut would be high-low. I think that was the first time that we stepped out of a hallway and like away from a green screen and decided that, all right, we're going to do stuff in the real world. And then we did multiple seasons of it. And it was to be able to make one thing once that was really successful was like a real achievement for us. But then to have a series that we could recreate multiple times and get to the point where we could like sell it for like a lot of money to a brand with the confidence that we were going to deliver was, you know, like a huge thing for us. And I think not something that happens a lot. And then I'd say like from a creative standpoint, you know, like Zach directed all of the high lows, and Jesse directed the first season of High Low. And so I think that like in a lot of ways, what we carried over onto Speed was the relationships, and like not like friendship aside, but like the working relationship and the shorthand, and just like a lot of the experience that I think we've gained came from that show. And, you know, like dealing with like big budgets and not screwing up, I think was like a huge rite of passage for us. Shooting multiple days, dealing with like a bunch of moving parts. Inevitably, everything goes wrong, and we have to figure it out. And like a mix of like improv, but also very heavily written. Like there was like travel elements involved, and so I just think like that series really just kind of checked all the boxes, and it was kind of everything that Donut was, from like the history stuff, the video essay, the science stuff, the like working on car stuff. It was kind of like everything together.
Mm-hmm. I think that high-low was like an interesting spot in the Venn diagram between like it was loose enough that it's still like in terms of from a production approach, loose enough that it still allowed like the YouTube magic and spontaneity to happen, but also still tight enough that, you know, we could operate a production at that scale. And I think like, to me, that's the thing that I'm most proud of with that, because there were so many moving pieces and schedules and, like James said, travel. But so keeping all of those things operational and like at least roughly on time, but still leaving enough, you know, like slop in there that we could still kind of let magic happen along the way.
Do you agree with all that, Zach, or are these guys wrong?
Yeah, I mean, high-low was awesome. I mean, what a product too, to like sell to a brand where you're like, hey, we're going to make 8 of these. They're guaranteed going to average 2 million views, and the audience loves it. And we were at a point by the time we were making like the 3rd and 4th ones that it was clockwork for us, essentially. You know, like there's a lot of discovery in the first one and the second one even, and there's always something we're pushing ourselves on each time we revisit it because we want to try something new. But ultimately, you're getting to a place where it's a team of people who've done this. You know, this is our 3rd time, or this is our 4th time, and we've just got this huge product that you can sell to a brand with so much confidence, where we're kind of in the opposite situation now, where we're very experimental and we're like, what's going to work? Let's try this. Where by the 3rd high-low, it was like, we know like exactly what we're doing. We're just in a machine right now, churning it out with a lot of confidence. And we have confidence, but it's definitely much more experimental what we have going on now.
Yeah, I remember like the first conversation I had with James and Jesse right after. So I remember Jesse telling me that you guys were leaving Donut, and I'm like, oh, that's going to be interesting. And then when we sat down, it might have even been after you posted your first video, when you guys were like, yeah, we're not just going to do car stuff. I was like, oh, that's really interesting, but very risky in a way, right? Because it could just not work. Like people know James from Donut, so show me car stuff and be funny. And we're going to definitely talk about how you guys have made that work on the channel, because I think that's the most interesting thing about Speed right now, is how you guys are able to do different types of content and it make it work. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But coming in, like, I mean, first of all, tell me, I want to hear each one of your stories about like what it was like when you're like, okay, this is the time to leave Donut and do this thing. Like bet on myself, so to speak, or bet on yourself, or in a lot of ways, bet on James. Because like, really, to be honest, if James fell apart for whatever reason, it kind of falls apart for everybody. So James, let's start with you. What was it like to go, okay, I need to do this on my own. I'm bringing these guys along, and it kind of is on your shoulders.
I think if any of us fell apart, I think Speed would fall apart. So
Sure. Okay,
I think
fair.
it's a very, there is no like leader or whatever. And I think that everyone, and I'm not just saying this, I think we have a group that contributes pretty equally. And I think you can see people's signatures pretty hard on every piece of content that we make. And so like, I really do believe that if it weren't for any of like the original 4 people like us and then SR, our editor, I don't think that Speed would definitely not look like it does. And I would potentially go so far as to say, like, I don't know if it would have been whatever degree of success it is at this point. Because it is so early and everyone is basically like the department heads of Donut. And so everyone was like confident enough to really put their stank on everything. And so like the reason our stuff looks like it does is because of SR's interpretation of like any note that we gave. The reason our stuff like moves in the way it does is like Zach, like the other day I was talking to Zach and I got like teary eyed because I was like, yo, like, I don't think this would work without you, or I know that this wouldn't work without you. But yeah, we're like the 4 of us together. I say this a lot, like makes one pretty good guy. And so because of that, I think we're confident into making some of the types of content we do, where like sometimes we'll give like advice to our younger audience. But yeah, I don't know. I think the writing was on the wall for a long time at Donut. I think that we did some really, really cool stuff there. And I think it was just this like lightning in a bottle thing that we were all kind of pulled into, and we didn't know what it was going to turn into, but we all got there at the same time. And it's just this like awesome thing that happened where like a bunch of young dudes were given way more responsibility and way more creative control than like in other situations they would have been given, you know? And at the helm, we had this like really young, like kind of brilliant executive, Matt Levin, you know, hiring all of us and encouraging us to try huge things and like sometimes waste money, which is insane. And I think like Matt was really great at asking us questions. And so like Jesse and I definitely had creative control at Donut, but like we'd have these meetings with Matt and he'd come and he'd be like, so are we a DIY channel or are we an entertainment channel? And you could tell he had been thinking about that like for like 2 weeks. And we'd be like, I think we're an entertainment channel. He's like, oh, yeah. And then like from then on, we were an entertainment channel. So if any like situation came up, it's like, well, that's which way we'll go. And there were just like a million of those things. And I think that like anything that magical has sort of an expiration date, you know, especially, and like I'm past being upset about this fact, but like we didn't own it and it wasn't ours. And so like to have this like magical moment that happened and like that moment is over, you can either just kind of continue doing that thing or you can like go off and start your own thing and scare yourself again and try and create like a totally different, totally new magical moment. And I think that is what we're doing right now.
The crazy thing about Matt is, first of all, he was an incredible guy. I say like he's dead. He's not dead. He actually hired me to help Donut and stuff. So I'm ever thankful for him. And then when he went away and did a YouTube channel and overly successful. Like, what is that?
Crushed it, dude.
Yeah,
it was
dude,
insane.
crushed it.
That was so
Wow.
sick. First video out. Like
yeah. My
1.2 million.
like my self-absorbed shit, like my narcissistic tendencies are like, he did that just to tell me that he could.
Just the point. It's wild. So just for people who don't know, like, again, like was just explained, Matt ran Donut, then left Donut, and then just sprung up some random YouTube channel about like comics or something, is getting millions of views. And I'm like, he could have been teaching all of us. What was I there for?
He had no face IP to bring with him. It was totally
He was on
zero.
Donut one time on a phone call and he made us blur his face out.
He's a magician, and Matt, if you're listening to this, man, I miss you, brother. What a great guy he is. Jesse, let's talk a little bit about that. So the transition from Donut to Speed. One of the things that I'm curious about is you have this kind of. I mean, it is like once it becomes more corporate-y, it's like, I mean, I really kind of want to do this thing, but you really are jumping off a bridge. You're like, there's this thing I know, and then there's this thing I don't know, which can be very scary. And you were in a very influential part of that company. Was there a moment where you're like, maybe this isn't such a good idea?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, dude.
February this year.
Yeah. Every week.
February and March were pretty rough, dude.
No, I mean, yeah, it's certainly scary. And especially, you know, not only leaving to start a new thing, but also leaving to do a thing that isn't exclusively cars and like, you know, resting on our laurels and all the best practices and stuff that we learned over the years with Donut. But I think also, you know, at the end of the day, we were working there for, you know, pushing 10 years, making thousands of very specific kind of set of car videos. And candidly, I was just kind of, for me personally, and I think the guys will probably agree with this to some extent, but I was just kind of burnt out. You know, after I left, I spent some time I literally drove to New York and just kind of did nothing and like walked around New York for weeks on end. And James and I would talk and for a while, I really did not want to do anything that had to do with cars. But eventually, I kind of came around on it to introducing a piece of that, because we still all love cars from a personal standpoint. So I think it was like taking a step back to reassess like what is authentic to us. And I think, we're not just one-dimensional people. Like cars certainly are a big part of our personalities. But I think like reassessing that what's authentic to us is, yes, some car stuff, but also other things as well. And so I think like at the end of the day for YouTube, you have to be authentic to who you are. That's the only way to be sustainable, frankly. And so like that was kind of the breath of fresh air, is just kind of reassessing and doing like a new spin that was like true to all of us.
Zach, how was this whole thing pitched to you to like spin off, do something new? Like, and what were your thoughts, honest thoughts going through your head as this was happening?
Zach was the first person I pitched Speed to. I pitched it to
this
Zach.
Would be really good.
I pitched it to Zach and Matt Levin first, so that, and then they liked it, and then I could go to Jesse and be like, "Well, Zach and Matt think it's a good idea."
I love that.
Yeah, I think James told me, and honestly, the idea is not what Speed is now. I think the original idea was kind of just, as you know, James had a popular series at Donut called Up to Speed, where he did the history of each car. And so it was like, what if we did Up to Speed, but just about anything? And specifically, James is very into menswear, but it could be beyond that as well. And I was like, yeah, I mean, frankly, like James has such good charisma that I'm like, if you want to make a history show and it's the history of anything, that can work on YouTube for sure. And that's not what Speed has become. But that was the original pitch, and I was like, that's a great idea. And at this point, I don't even know. And James was definitely interested in me coming on. I think, where was I at I was doing a big project with Donut. I knew the split was coming. This might have been like before everything. And so I felt like, me personally, professionally, I had a lot of options.
Yeah.
As far as like, where am I gonna be a year from now with this whole kind of explosion happening? And I honestly, it was when you said SR was coming on, who was the fourth, that I was kind of like, I don't care what the YouTube strategy is. I think like if somebody pitched me on a channel idea and I thought the strategy was great, that could be a reason I would join them. I joined because the talent in the room, though. I was like, we all know enough about YouTube that I'm not that worried about us figuring it out. I just really believe in James, really believe in Jesse, really believe in SR. And so I'm like, the talent is in the room. We'll figure it out. Like, I don't have any doubts about that. So that's kind of what was the determining factor for me, more so even than the idea of what Speed will be, was just like, I just know with these four guys, we've all been doing this so long that like we will figure it out. It might take us some time, but.
And I think that gave us the ability to like Zach said, Speed is very different than it was when I pitched it to him that first time. And I think one of the reasons that it feels like it is starting to work a little bit is because the four of us can evolve pretty quickly, and we talk about it a lot, but like, I think we're sort of like building it as we go. We're like throwing the road in front of us as we drive. And I think that because of that and our ability to adapt and like our faith in each other, like pulling it off, like I think that's the reason that like it's not planned, it's just kind of happening.
One of the things that I remember having an early conversation with you guys about was not pooping on Donut when you left, because it's such an easy thing to do. You leave a place that you work on, you're like, that place was garbage or whatever. You didn't do that. As a matter of fact, I think the video you did was almost a love letter to Donut in a lot of ways, which definitely could endear you to a lot of people, because you could get mixed into the drama of what happened or whatever. And there were certainly a lot of channels that covered it, which was kind of crazy. But you really just had a genuinely cool video that when I watched it, I was like, yeah, that's exactly the way, you leave something like that, because you just don't want to burn bridges regardless of anything. And I know you've been back to do some collabs and stuff, but what's your mindset about that? Because again, it is a different place now than it was. And that video, again, I still think is in so many ways, I learned a lot of things in watching it. Just a really well done video. What was the thought process behind how that you guys came up with that particular video?
Well, when you get a divorce, you don't start being mean to your kids.
Okay, fair.
And I think that, the other guys will agree too. At this point, like Donut is still probably the coolest thing that we've ever done. And we're extremely proud of all of the work that we did there. And I don't think that it would do us any good or like do like the legacy of what we built any good to like taint it with whatever happened at the end of our relationship with like the people who ended up buying it or like the people who ended up being in charge, So I think like Donut was a project that we worked on that I think we did a really great job on. And so, I just want to like keep it as that. And then that video is sort of like, I think we are pretty good at storytelling and like we really like it. And I think Jesse and I had a very unique POV of Donut because we were there from the very beginning, like in a lot of ways, Jesse and I started Donut. And so we wanted to, and there's a lot of guys who were there before we started doing Up to Speed who would tell a totally different story of like what Donut was. And then there was a bunch of people who showed up after like we were already doing in like season 3 of High Low that have a totally different perspective of what Donut was and is. And like, that's their story. But I think Jesse and I were so involved in everything up until we left that we wanted to like lock it down. So we never had to talk about it ever again. And no, in like a way, like we didn't have to like be like, no, actually here's what happened.
Right,
like we were like, hey, here's what happened.
Yeah.
Here's our story. Here's the thing that we spent the last 9 years doing. And so like, this is canon. And we didn't think anyone else was going to ever do it. So we were just like, and we didn't want to do it. Like, I wouldn't do it now, but like a year ago, it was like very appropriate for us to do it. And it was just like a love letter to this thing that we did. And like, okay, cool. Canon. Let's like move on.
I was going back and forth with Jesse on email. I think James might have been on it too, because initially when you put it out, it wasn't doing well. But again, it was your first video ever. So you guys were panicking a little bit. I think you were comparing yourself to Big Time a little bit. I think we could say that. What I think the funniest and probably worst thing you did was change the name of your channel briefly. And then we had you turn it back. So tell me what the mindset was, because by the time you guys had done that, I heard about it after the fact and I was like, no, go back. And I explained how search works. Tell me what was going on in your mind when you're like, okay, we got to do this. We got to do this.
James is a classic 30 minutes into upload panic type of guy, by the way.
Every video.
Nothing's changed, Travis.
And this was just the first video. There was nothing else there.
Yeah, so we put out the first video, and I mean, obviously we were nervous about it, and then it wasn't performing very well, because we didn't like throw from a Donut video into our video or anything. So like
it was just blank slate, the algorithm.
Blank slate.
Hello,
Yeah.
new channel.
And like at one point, like 80% of our views or like 60% of our views were coming from like my Instagram story.
Right.
And so like it was doing okay, very underwhelming. And we put it out on a Thursday, and Jesse and I had already like I'd like called him and I was like, you know what, man, we did this once. We're going to do it again, like brick by brick. We'll just like build. We got this. And then the next morning I woke up and the graph was like straight up, and it just felt like we were on a desert island and we saw a helicopter. Like it was just like so much relief. And it ended up performing really well, but like, it was just like, it needed our guys to find it. And it really, in that moment, like really, it was, we were on an island and the rescue team was our guys. It was our audience. And so like our audience finally found us and they were like, you're good. And we're like, oh, great. And
Well, and props to you, Travis, because I don't remember when exactly it was that we talked to you, but it was
while it was still doing bad, and I said,
it was,
don't worry
it was
about
dire.
It. It's going to do fine. And
Yeah,
then
it
like
was
a day
dire
later,
for
you
sure.
and we go, look at this.
Yeah. So Travis had faith.
I definitely said out loud to somebody, I think I've ruined my life.
Was that when you changed the channel back to your name, or was that
Maybe,
after?
man, it was a tough 3 days, but I think we needed it. It humbled us a little bit. And so like, I think we've been approaching every video, remembering that feeling.
I mean, first ones are scary anyway. So let's talk a bit about the strategy now. Like Speed is this interesting channel that in its name, you would think is car related. And you do still do car stuff. Let's be clear. You still do some car stuff, but you're able to do stuff that has nothing to do with cars. And I think in a vacuum, if someone were to come to me and say, I have this popular car channel, but I'm going to do a video about like pants or something, I'm thinking, bro, if you really want to hurt yourself in life and never want to live again, you can do that. But somehow you guys have videos that perform very well about things that have nothing to do with cars. So let's talk about how you approach a subject that's so far from what your normal core audience is to find a new audience that would be interested in these things. What's the strategy behind all that?
I would say for us, number one, we're very lucky to have an established audience to begin with. I think that's the only thing that allows us to do this to a certain extent and to have a personality like James. But I would say our strategy as far as coming into this stuff is just being inspired people, because I think something that's lacking in YouTube or that you see across YouTube is, and we found ourselves in this situation where you're making it for the audience so much or for the algorithm so much that you don't even care about like the thing you're making. You're just making it because you know it's a good title, you know it's going to perform well. There's all these other things influencing you, but you yourself are like not that interested or inspired to make this video. And after a long, like years and years working in YouTube, I think that can lead to burnout. I think we all feel that way. So like, look, if you feel really inspired by this subject or this thing where you think it's interesting, and that could be me, it could be Jesse, it could be James, it could be SR, we kind of like bring it to the table. We're like, I've been reading about this, or like, I've been kind of getting into this. Like, could we make a video about that? James really wants to make a video about snowboarding right now because he doesn't know how and he wants to learn how. We will never make that video until we think there's a YouTube appropriate format and there is a title.
Interesting.
But I think there's been so much about working title backwards on YouTube and packaging backwards that you can get really lost in that. And so we're trying to kind of go back to how you probably feel when you're making your first YouTube videos, which is you have this idea, you're not even thinking about title and thumbnail because you don't know that that's important, and you're just focused on the content of the video, this thing that you really like, and you want to make this video, and your mistake is that you give it a terrible title and thumbnail, and over time you learn, oh, I need good packaging. So we're trying to kind of go back to that like initial inspired feeling, and then we will still never make the video if we can't come up with a good title and thumbnail. Like right now we have no title and thumbnail for James's snowboarding video, so it's right now it's not going to get made, but maybe it does. So like we keep thinking. So it's kind of this like stay inspired, and we do believe the algorithm has, I think it's gotten better at determining like a video that's quality content and getting it to the people who want to see it. So as long as you feel good about, like, as long as we feel good about it, it's coming from like an inspired place, then we'll make it after. So that's like step one. And then step two is like, well, how does this work on YouTube? Like, let's use all the stuff that we know to make this work on YouTube. And that's, to us, maybe it's not optimal, like maybe there is a way we could be getting more views, but it's more sustainable. And we just feel like we're less likely to burn out. We're less likely to get sick of what we're making. And so that's kind of like, does that make sense? That's like kind of our strategy, I think, for coming up with content.
Yeah, it's more of a long play,
yeah,
if you will.
Yeah, and I think it shows in the content, because if you just look at the channel, like for example, I'm looking at Have a Good Summer Guaranteed. No way that works on a car channel. Like, the thumbnail is, if for people watching on YouTube, you're going to see this on the thumbnail on YouTube. James just laying on some grass. That's it. And it just says, do these 6 things. It's like, what is this? What is this video even?
It's more of a vibe play.
I really want to know why you guys think this video works on this channel.
James came with the inspiration. You were you were talking about summer a lot and were really inspired and want to make a video about it.
Yeah, I think I was pretty stoked about just spending this summer with the boys. And I think it came from a place of, like, as an adult, I've definitely missed entire summers or entire seasons because you can as an adult. And I think it was just like thinking that like summer is a thing that should be celebrated, and there's just like a ton of stuff going on, and I think in general, a lot of our content is just like trying to encourage people to try. And I think that it's very easy to sort of get tunnel vision and focus on everything that's like shitty. And so I think encouraging the audience to like just put a little effort into something, and like you'll have a great time. And so like the summer video was really just sort of like summer is awesome. Take advantage of it.
And I have to say that one was coming on the heels. We had just done a similar essay, a love letter to cars, a love letter to old cars. Because I think James, again, this was one that was kind of on the burner. James has got his summer idea, right? We're like, okay, well, can this be YouTube optimized? Like, how is this going to work? Because like you're saying, it's him laying on the grass. You're like, what is this? But then we put that one out, and it was kind of this heartfelt video essay format, and it did really well. So that kind of was like, all right, James, let's make your summer video. You know, like we've seen one case that it can work. We'll give this one a shot.
And I would say those are like letter from the editor type things. Like we kind of think of Speeed as a magazine. So like Speeed is a GQ type magazine, and it's been that way from the beginning. I think it's like a men's lifestyle magazine or like a men's style magazine, but like cars are included in men's style, and it's kind of wild that GQ doesn't have cars in it. And so I think in a lot of ways, like, again, it needs to be optimized for YouTube, but as far as like the channel's voice, as long as we can see it in the same issue of a magazine, then I think we're willing to like talk about it. You know what I mean?
I've never heard anyone talk about their channels and magazines. It's very interesting because as you say that, I look at it, I go, yeah, I actually can see that. I can totally see that vibe. It's really interesting. Again, now there's like a Levi's, everything you need to know. And I know you guys probably like, I didn't do that well. It's almost
Travis,
500,000 views.
Yeah,
you
bad
keep picking
performers, dude. Why
I mean,
can't we talk about one of our like 2 million view videos?
Pick
Come
one,
on.
Bro.
pick one that crushed, dude. I'd love to talk about those.
Bro, you're talking about pants, for God's sakes. You only got almost 500,000 views. It's probably going to continue to do well over time. And by the way, that summer video is probably going to get views every summer. You'll be the Mariah Carey
The Dress
summer.
Better video, I'd say, is a big one for us.
I mean, I really think it's going to do well every year. But like, where did the pants thing come from? I just think that's so funny. Levi's everything you need to know.
I think that one was honestly like a safe play. I think that one was sort of like us regressing a little bit and being like, I'll just tell the history of a thing. And instead of history of a car thing, I'll tell the history of a clothes thing. And I think our audience has evolved, or maybe the general YouTube audience in general has evolved a little bit. And they're like, no, you can't just do that anymore. You have to do that plus another thing. So if you look at like the Jaguar video or the Nissan video, like I think we can do very historical heavy stuff, but we need a stronger point of view, and we need sort of like, I think the audience is asking for like, why did you make this? You know, and it can't just be like, well, because it's there, dude. It's got to be, I think you got to tie it back into something that's sort of happening or like could be affecting them currently, is my best understanding right now.
And then you have that testing the same products from 1975 and 2025 with 2 million views. Let's talk about that. Can you take me into the sit down conversation of the pitch of this video and then everything from pitching it to how it went out?
Well, that one started with a video that's coming out this week about camping with equipment from the 1920s, 1970s, and 2025. Because basically, well, we had the Dress Better video had a lot of success. The bicycle video, the bike build, had a good amount of success. So we're trying to find these interests that our audience has that we can make videos about that align with our interests. And one of those is like outdoors stuff, right? Camping, things like that. We know that like the overlanding community, there's like good crossover with car content and actually outdoorsmanship. So we're like, let's make this cool camping video. And as we were researching it and finding all the gear and stuff, this kind of other video like premise started to emerge, like another kind of thing of inspiration where it's like just looking at the gear, like we would come across certain things that like we don't need for camping, like some tools or stuff, like as on eBay looking for this old vintage stuff. And we're like, oh, why don't we just make a comparison video? It's way cheaper than this huge camping video. And we'll just test our audience. It was almost just meant to be a test. Like, how interested are they in seeing the technological change of kind of guy stuff over the last 100 years? And it's a lot easier. We'll shoot in the garage. We don't have to go out and camp. We don't have to buy a bunch of stuff. We can just buy like small things. So it was very much an experiment. And then when it blew up, we were all, I think on Slack, I was like, I don't understand YouTube. I fully admit, like, I thought this was going to be like a 5 of 10. It was an experiment. We were going to read some comments. And then it was like, it was a 1 of 10. It was crazy. But it is such a straightforward, clear YouTube built premise. And the video itself, the content itself was good.
And I think it was a good play to have Coke as the primary thing, because everyone knows Coke, right? So it's an interesting thought right off the bat. Like, is he going to drink 1975?
And again,
Coke?
that's like a little thing that isn't even acknowledged in the video really, but it is very much in the public zeitgeist and sort of like the ether, where it's like the whole Maha thing and Coke has like corn syrup and we're like bringing it back to like cane sugar. And so like, I'm sure there are a number of people who are like, oh yeah, I'm going to watch this, like either pissed about it or something, but it's like, it's there, you know? And I think that whenever we can kind of tap into something that's like there, like I think our Carhartt video it wasn't like about it, but it was like kind of there. It was like during the whole stolen valor, you can't wear workwear conversation on the internet. And so like, we didn't make a video about that conversation on the internet, but we made a video during it that everyone involved in that conversation might be interested in.
Jesse, what's the most stressful part of this process when you're making one of these videos?
It's a great question. I mean, for me personally, it's usually just trying to make sure that everything stays in sync from like a production and coordination standpoint, that we have all the pieces in place, that the sponsors are lined up appropriately, that we get the ad spots shot and plugged into it, and the thumbnail, just like making sure that all of the different pieces that combine to make a successful YouTube video coalesce together, because I have faith in James and his ability to, really carry the video from a personality standpoint, and from Zach, making sure that the format is dialed in, like we were saying, like the team is there, and it's just like kind of making sure that we all doing everything that I can to make sure that we have a good game, if you will. I think like that's the most stressful thing, because it's sort of like week in and week out. And so just trying to maintain the correct like equilibrium so that we're all like functioning at our best, I think is like probably the most stressful part, rather than anything specific with each individual video.
We also schlep all thumbnail duties onto Jesse almost every video and put that stress on him.
What is something that a super fan would love to know about what's going on behind the scenes of Speed that like you guys really haven't mentioned before? What would be something interesting or funny, or do you guys have like a ritual you do, or is there just something like an inside joke you guys have, or something interesting like that?
Just got a dog.
Oh yeah.
Oh, hey, really? What
we
kind
have a
of
mascot?
Yeah, we have a mascot now. So all of our merch, the tag for the Speed, he's chilling. The tag for the Speed merch is a Doberman.
Okay.
And so now it's life imitating art. I got a Doberman.
Oh wow.
Pinscher on Friday, Saturday.
Oh, so
Don't kidnap him.
the merch happened before the dog?
Yes, it did.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
interesting. So is he just trying to double down on the branding? What's going on?
yeah.
Basically.
It's like this is a brand play we're trying to do here.
Yeah, exactly.
Dobermans are not I mean, I love dogs. I absolutely adore dogs. Look at that beautiful dog. Look at that. What's their name?
Kobe.
Kobe, like the beef.
Yep.
Or the Laker.
Or the Laker. Yeah, I mean, okay, sure. Beautiful.
He came
dog
with the
there.
name. He's a rescue.
But it's not a small dog. Dobermans are not small dogs. So
No. 75 pounds.
my gosh. Real sweet though. Look. All right. So before we kind of wrap this up, I do want to talk a little bit about some of the things about YouTube that you guys like, and then we'll talk about some things you wish would change. So what's your favorite YouTube thing right now, whether it be a channel, maybe a feature, you know, something like that? What's your favorite thing? We'll go around the room. We'll start with Zach. What's your like favorite YouTube thing right now?
Oh, I'm on the spot. My favorite thing about YouTube. I mean, like I was saying earlier, I do think for better and for worse, the algorithm's gotten better at just finding good content. I don't know if you've, like, I've noticed I get a lot more videos with like 1,200 views in my feed. And I think that's because the algorithm's gotten better at knowing what I like to watch. It's gotten better at recognizing what's a good video. And so that's scary because I think it's harder potentially to have inertia as a bigger channel, because YouTube's like, we will punish you if you make bad content. But it is nice because you can make something that you believe is like just a holistically good video, and you can rely a little less on the packaging, I think, than you had to maybe 5 or 6 years ago, because the algorithm has like figured out viewers better, has figured out how to recognize good content. So I would say I've just noticed that trend over the last few years, and as scary as that can be, I think we're good at making good content, and you know, it just means you can't use the hacks or the cheats as much anymore. And to me, I'd rather be in that environment. So that's kind of my favorite thing I've noticed going on.
Yeah, I agree about the algorithm thing, because ironically, about 2 hours before this podcast episode, I recorded another episode with a creator I only learned about a week and a half ago, but I became kind of obsessed with them. I had no idea they existed. All of a sudden it came up my homepage, and then hours later, I'm like going through all their stuff, and I'm like, I need to have this person on the podcast, which if you're watching this podcast, that episode will be next week. So make sure you tune in for that. What about you, Jesse? What's like your favorite thing about YouTube?
I think there's sort of two sides to the coin, I guess, is what I'll caveat this with. But I do appreciate that YouTube seems to be constantly innovating. In particular, it seems this year more so than past years, there's a glut of new features that they're trying out, between collabs, TBD. We'll see how like the new brand slot dynamic insertions works. Communities, again, we'll see how it goes, but it's clear that they're continuing to try things to stay relevant and be, the best platform that they can be for audiences. So I appreciate that we're like in a platform with like seemingly a forward looking executive behind it.
What do you think, James?
I think sort of like to echo Zach's point, and I think like what I'm going to say is allowed because of what they were saying. Like, I think that we are in a very like pendulum swingy transition time, I think, in a lot of places. And I think we got to a point in like 2021, 2022, probably, where like everyone knew the rules on like how to do YouTube. It's like, here's how you make a thumbnail, and here's how you edit it, and here's how you talk when you're doing the video, and here's like how you take this idea and then you make it a YouTube idea. And I think, together the audience and like a new crop of creators have decided that that's not going to be the way we're going to do it anymore. And that means that we get to figure out like a new way. And I think that just because of how things react, I think that new way is slower. I think like more artistic, more cinematic, better written. And like Zach said, without a lot of the hacks. And I think that like a lot of the things that used to be like rules are no longer the case. Like, we make a big deal about the fact that like we're not just making car content, but like I don't think if we made car content, we would be successful. I think people would get sick of that. And I think that I said this when we were on the phone last week, like anytime an executive tells you that you need to do something, is like, hey, like you really should do a niche content is really well, I remember at the beginning of Donut pitching to executives and telling them what niche content was, and they were like, oh, interesting. But now they're telling us that we have to do it. And it's like, well, as soon as you say that we have to do it, then it's cooked, and we have to figure out the next thing to do, because like our idea is to figure out what to make. And so
Which being niche is still valid advice in a lot of situations.
But I think that there is like a certain freedom and a certain excitement to the fact that like kind of nobody knows what you're supposed to do right now. And I think that there's a lot of people figuring it out together and an audience that's like very ready to look at a bunch of different things, which is a pretty exciting environment to create in.
Before I ask you what you don't like about YouTube, I want to bring up a point. I know that some people are probably watching this going, so the super fans are going to love hearing some of this stuff. But I also think there's people that are creators that listen to podcasts going, okay, this is great. So they were a big channel and went and made another big channel. There is no guarantee on YouTube. There are plenty of people who have left big channels to try to make their own channel and then nothing happened. I just want to be very clear about this. One of the reasons that this channel succeeded isn't because they came from a big channel. It's because they know all the things that they learned while they were there to then put into place from ground zero those same strategies. It's super important to understand that. And the best way I can explain this is to say the word Dunkelman. And for those who know who Dunkelman is, you'll realize that, oh yeah, this guy used to be the host on American Idol. That is a guaranteed win. Do you know he was doing like Uber last year? There is no guarantee. You can come from the biggest platform on the face of the planet and then try something else and it doesn't work. So this was never guaranteed. Just to be very clear, some people have kind of a thought of like, oh, well, they've always been big. Nah, it's not how it works.
Travis, I'm not going to put anyone on blast, but I would look at those channels like you've seen the channels that go from 1 million to 50,000, or you see people who break out on their own, and I would look at those being like, this could be us. I would look almost as like to scare me into like working harder. Like,
to always be on the cutting edge.
This is not guaranteed.
No, it's not. But you guys are doing a great job. All right, so tell me, you don't have to say hate. You could say what I would like to see an improvement. However you want to say it. It could be something you hate. Tell me something you really don't like about YouTube. And it also could be something self-inflicted. So for example, I think for a lot of creators, people hate 10 of 10s. They can say, I don't even like to know that it's a 10 of 10. I wish I didn't know that. So it could be anything. What do you really dislike about YouTube? We'll start with Jesse first.
Oh, God.
I mean, I don't know what I'd do if I didn't have the 10 of 10 list.
Oh. You like that?
Can I make mine? Can I
go ahead.
Steal yours, Travis, with the 10 of 10? I do think that the 10 of 10 is potentially damaging if you're not digging into the analytics enough yourself, because we have had so many. What's actually been worse for us is we've had a lot of like 2, 3, 1 of 10s, and they've stayed that way through our next upload. So in your memory, it's kind of like, oh, that was like a successful video. But if you actually go back and look at it, it plateaued really hard. So it hit our core audience, and then nobody else in the world cared about it. And you can kind of fall into this trap and say, well, that was a successful video, but actually you can compare it to another video that was a 7 of 10, and that one went on to get more views. And so it actually, unless, it'd be nice if there's like a click down menu that let you really say like, hey, I want to see my top 10, but like give me this for like 90 days or give me this for whatever amount of days. And so you can really fall into this trap where your idea of which videos were and weren't successful can be really off. So yeah, YouTube should introduce something where you can control the time windows better. I like that you can compare 2 videos curves, but we need like 5. I need to see.
Yeah,
I gotta see.
90 days would be sick, because like I think that seeing it in like since your last upload or whatever, like I think that contributes to people having like such a narrow scope and creating like the same thing for the same 300,000 people or whatever that just watch it immediately. Like our biggest video, like biggest videos that have like the most views, but also like brought in the most subscribers were like 6 out of 10
or lower
for like a long time.
Yeah. I mean, Leica was our worst performing video out of the 10 graph, and it stayed. I mean, it was like 8 of 10 by the time we uploaded the next video, and now it's well over 1 million views. Like if we compare it to a lot of our other videos, it's done a lot better. So yeah, that is a YouTube feature that could be better, but also I think it's just as a creator digging in deeper to the analytics and really understanding what's going on.
What about you, Jesse?
That's mine. Whew,
I know mine. I think it sort of ties into my biggest stressors, which I think is, as I was saying, there's like, 2 sides of the coin. To like, you have to be good at so many different things and specialties to be good at YouTube now, between just making the video, which comprises, how you shoot it, how you cut it, how you perform in it, what the title and format are, but then also like all the extraneous stuff, like engaging with your community either on or off platform, having a presence on different social media platforms. You should really have like a clip strategy, so that you're showing up in people's vertical formats, interfacing with brands and agencies and blah, blah, blah. There's just like so many hats to not only wear, but if you want to be successful, to be good at. And I think that's just like a lot to balance and manage for anybody. I can't imagine being a solo creator doing all of this, because I feel like all of us are already sort of like, balancing keeping our minds sane. And so I think like that is the biggest like downside, I would say. It's not necessarily like a critique of the platform itself, because I know that they're doing what they need to do to work in the larger ecosystem. So I guess it's just a critique of how things are. But I think like that's the hardest / worst
Makes
thing
sense
to me.
What do you got, James?
I think it'd be cool if there was more of like a curation element to it. Like I think we all started making stuff like when Vimeo was really big, and I think like staff picks was a huge thing. And I know that that has to look different at YouTube just because of the scale. But if there was some way to like, oh, I like this creator, like a soft collab situation where it's like, oh, I'm not making videos with this guy, but I with him.
Yeah,
like, I really like this guy, like
a shout out almost,
or like just like, I don't know. I think just like a stronger, if you like this, then you'll like this kind of. I don't know. Just I think curation in general is a thing that we abandoned too quickly under the with the promise of like algorithmic things, and I think it's missed.
All right, 2 more things, and then we're out for this podcast. I love what we've been talking about. I want you each to tell me a YouTube channel that you watch that maybe isn't like a huge channel, something that it could be a guilty pleasure, or it could be a surprise. But like, who's your favorite YouTuber that you like to watch right now? Zach, let's start with you.
Oh, I got to go to my homepage. I mean, first things that jump out would probably be, man, I want to give like a good answer on one of these like smaller channels.
I love the small channel shout out. That's good.
I mean, for a long time, I was really into Van Neistat's videos.
Yeah, Van's great.
His stuff was especially his like early stuff was really good. His stuff now is good as well, but you can tell that he's like he's slowed down his cadence, and I think that's helped. I really enjoyed Dan Mace's stuff for a long time, but he's working for Mr. Beast now, I think. Yeah, those are probably the 2. Go to the other guys. Maybe I'll have one in a sec.
Who do you watch for fun, Jesse?
Someone who I've been really getting a kick out of recently is Annie Austin. He does some really funny videos that are like, where do all of Grand Theft Auto's power lines go?
Are the airports in Grand Theft Auto efficient?
Yeah.
That video crushed.
Yeah. Awesome. And it's really absurdist. Just what.
Yeah,
who cares? But it's fascinating, and he is really funny and has like a great sense of humor. I also think that he does an excellent job weaving his ad reads into the content. That's really a very specific thing that I've noticed of his. Yeah, I'll try to think of somebody else. Maybe James.
Who do you like, James?
I think Van Neistat is a huge influence. I like this channel, Iron Snail, that makes menswear content. Very good. I like Frugal Aesthetic quite a bit. And then right now I really like Will Tennyson, and he might be the only YouTube I watch right now.
Oh, interesting.
Like he's the I
said interesting. I haven't heard of that one.
Will Tennyson?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, he's great.
He's great.
You'll
he's
love
like
him.
Fitness, like bodybuilding stuff. And he's just like very good at YouTube and very entertaining.
I'll have to check him out.
which like goes against everything I've said on this entire podcast because he is extremely niche and just like plays the rules like super well. But he's also kind of like subversive humor and he just kills it. He nails it.
All right, we have one last thing we're gonna do. I've never tried to do this before. This could crash and burn, but I think it's gonna be interesting. I'm all about the content, so worst case scenario, it'll be funny. Again, you guys started out coming from Donut and then having the knowledge that you had, but also had a little bit of a budget to start this channel. You had some things backing you up, somewhat. None? You said zero? Okay.
We had our own savings.
Yeah, we had.
You had your own savings. Okay, all right, that's fair then. I want you to start a new channel. I'm gonna give you guys 2 minutes to talk about a new channel that has nothing to do with cars, and you have to tell me what the name of the channel is going to be and the video. You guys are going to talk real time to figure it out. You're your group. You have no budget. You're just three guys, because we don't have the editor here. And I want to hear real time. You guys come up with that idea, and you can talk real time. I'm going to start the timer here in a second. You ready?
Ooh, this is a funny experiment.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I wanted people to hear like what this might sound like if they were sitting in the room with you. Again, nothing related to stuff you've already done. So it's got to be a new niche. Ready? Go.
All right. Well, I think we got to pick a niche.
Do I have to be in it or can we get other people?
This
It's
can
up
be
to you.
anything, chat. We can hire.
Well, we don't have any money.
Yeah, you don't have
no
any
money.
Oh, okay.
I mean, for a long time, I've been saying golf.
Yeah, I was gonna say golf. That's why I asked if I had to be in it.
Golf, high CPMs, and I think Good is doing good stuff, but I think there's room for somebody to really go in and do kind of what Donut did for cars, but with golf.
Yeah, I would 100% do a golf channel.
I think you start.
It's
off,
also fun.
Yeah, it's fun. You get to go outside. You'd have to get like a deal with a golf course. That's kind of cool with you shooting certain stuff. I'd go super educational. So like, I think you could take, the things that like the sim rigs where there's some that can just use like LiDAR off your phone, but then there's like $15,000 ones, shot tracer type things. You could do a comparison of those. You just
1
go
minute
to
left. You
driving
need a
range.
channel name and a video name.
Oh, channel name.
Channel name and a video name. Video concept. You got 50 seconds left.
Call it
55 of them.
thwack.
Thwack. Thwack. That's good.
Thwack.
Thwack.
Video name.
Thwack.
Like
What the concept topic is for the video. 45 seconds.
we could do a classic YouTube format. Cheap
I would do a
versus
versus.
expensive. Cheap versus expensive.
I would do like cheap versus expensive.
like starter golf.
I would do like $10 golf ball tracker versus $15,000 golf ball tracker. And you could just shoot that at a driving range and you could have a bunch of different ones. You could dive into the tech a little bit to fill out the video. And you could just do
15
that at a
seconds?
driving range so you didn't have to or in your backyard maybe even. I would try to do it somewhere where you could shoot the ball and then go see if it landed where the tracker said that it was, like in theory.
5 seconds. All right. So 2, 1. Okay. So the name of the channel is
Thwack.
Thwack. And the first video is
$10 golf ball tracer versus $15,000 tracer. I don't know
and
if tracer
you
is
were
the right
doing
word.
that because you're going to a golf, so you don't even have to spend the money on the $15,000 tracer, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah. You go
Yeah.
to a place that has a
And you
simulator
probably
or
you
something.
probably do 1 to 3 in the middle of those,
Yeah.
but you call out the 2.
Also, Travis, we are not above buying and returning products.
Listen, that's the YouTube return policy. I know all about that. I mean, I don't know anything about that. I'm a pure innocent boy.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know
haven't
anything
heard
about
of
that. Okay. Thank you guys for coming on through. If you're new to Speed, you can check them out. There'll be a link in the description as well as the show notes. If you're listening to audio podcasts, you can check them there. We got lots of cool things coming, so make sure you don't miss that. And of course, we got more episodes here on the podcast channel, and we'll see you in the next one.